now we're going to check out why we're not getting good airflow, or why we keep getting air when the zone downstairs in the basement is supposedly shut off. Put this door back on, get it fired up, and see what's going on with the zone damper. Okay, my two zone dampers are right here, and by default, if there isn't 24 volts getting to these motors, then by default they should stay open. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to cut a little hole right here, and I'm going to make sure, and I'm going to be able to get access to see these dampers. Damper here, and if we turn off downstairs zone, which right now both zones are on, but if we turn off downstairs, then 24 volts should be applied to the motor, and then 24 volts closes that damper motor, which should shut off downstairs. Okay, so I can see that both dampers are open right now. Let's close downstairs and see what happens. And you have zone 1 wires hooked up here, zone 2 here, and then this board communicates to the furnace over here. These two terminals here are for zone damper 1, zone damper 2, telling the dampers to close down. So we're going to take zone 1, which is usually the downstairs, and we're going to remove the W terminal here, basically acting like it's not calling for heat. Okay, so that tells zone 1 right here that it needs to turn off. I have 24 volts across to terminal 1, so that's telling me that 24 volts is being applied to this wire. Follow that wire out to here. Got it. Still following the wire. Meaning I should have 24 volts applied to this one. Alright, here we should have our 24 volts now, and we do, which means that, so I do have the 24 volts to this motor, but it's not closing. So let's figure out, is it stuck or something? That looked like it was, okay, that looked like it was actually stuck. And now it looks like it's free to move back and forth. So that damper was actually stuck way back here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a rod right here that moves back and forth. Oh, hard to see, guys. So you see that moving back and forth. That little device right there, as it stops at the top there, was stuck over here, and I actually had to bring it back forward. So let's make sure that doesn't happen again by putting, just bending that metal. And now let's try to hook this wire back up. Let's see if we get our 24 volts now, if the motor will close. have 24 volts. And, oh goodness, check it out. It is closing. So it closed all the way. It was literally, I didn't need to get a new motor or anything. I didn't need to get a new motor. All I had to do was fix it because it was stuck. Man, I'm not making any money today. Oh well. We're fixing problems. Okay, so let's hook the damper back up. Let's try it again. I'm going to get that, and you're going to see this damper open. And now the damper opens. And we'll watch it close again. See if it closes. Pretty weak motor. I just had to push it to get it going. It should close all the way like that. Alright, let's remove 24 volts, close it. Let's open it up again. Okay, so it's opening. Motor opens pretty easily. Now we're 24 volts is applied to it. Let's see how much it closes. Okay, let's remove it, and it's opening. Closed. Alright, well, sometimes it wants to, sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to open it and close it. Okay, so we've tested it. And it seems to be opening and closing. We still had the one hiccup where it didn't want to close all the way, but now open it back up. I don't feel any snags here. Maybe there's a weak motor going here, but I'll give him the option to change it, whatever he wants to do. 24 volts is applied to it again, so we're going to close it. Seems to be doing it now, so maybe it was just that one time. But I'll let him know how it's going. Give him the option. Let's test our other one and make sure that it works okay. This one should be closing too, and it's not. We got our 24 volts. Let's hook this back up. And let's see what happens when we get 24 volts here now. Should be closing. And it is. I think we're good. do a couple things here. You can tell the homeowner, hey, you know, it looks like you got some, you know, right now it looks like your motors are running properly. I did have a couple little snags with it, but after that snag, I tested it several times, open and closed several times, and both sides open and closed for me. So as of now, the system's working as it should. You can run your thermostats as you want to. Just let them know that, hey, these damper motors are, you know, getting a little on the older side, so these motors may need to be replaced. When you replace one, I would replace both, just because they typically go out in pairs. So that's what recommendation I'll make. But for now, I don't feel comfortable telling them that they need to replace them right now. All right, so here's what we're going to do with that call. We got them up and running. We got them, the flame sensor cleaned, and we got the damper assembly unstuck and working again. And then they were also complaining about their son's room wasn't getting enough air. So, you know, I asked them questions like, how long has your zoning been a problem where it was stuck in the open position? Oh, well, it's been a couple years. Okay, well, let's why don't we instead of enlarging the duct that goes to your son's room or doing anything that messes with it right now, instead of charging you $400 or $500 to enlarge your son's duct, do you want to just wait and see if, now that the zoning is working, now that you have 100% of the air only blowing upstairs, something stuck in me from the attic. Do you want to just wait and see if you're getting better airflow to the system now, you know, to the room now? And they thought that was a good idea. So same thing with the zone damper motors. I let them know, hey, you know, we have your damper motor unstuck and it's working now, and I opened and closed it about 10 times. One of those times it didn't close all the way for me. So I just want to let you know that, you know, about the second time that I tried to close it, it didn't want to close all the way. Like, it almost seemed like it was stuck, or didn't have enough strength to get closed all the way. I said, but I took the wires apart, I put it back together, and the next 8 times in a row, it closed for me just fine. So it's up to you guys. We can, you know, those motors are not cheap to replace. And when you replace one, I recommend you replace both of them. So I said, so instead of, you know, spending $600-700 on a couple zone damper motors, do you want to just wait and see if it works okay? We signed them up on the club membership program, so we're going to be coming out in the end of March to do their air conditioning maintenance. That gives them some time to see if the airflow has been working properly, and if they want to do any repairs, then they've made an educated decision. We've given them an ethical way to make the repair instead of rushing into judgment right now on, oh, you got to change your zone damper motors, they had a hiccup, or, oh, you got to enlarge this room, you know, the duct to this room, without even taking into consideration now the zoning works. So before, only half of the airflow, they would be calling for air upstairs, but only half of the air was getting upstairs, and the other half was going downstairs, even though it wasn't supposed to be going downstairs. So now that we've got it fixed, where it's, you know, you can go 100% upstairs, 100% downstairs, or you can share 50-50 with upstairs and downstairs, either way. Now that the zoning's working, why don't you see how it works for you before we mess with the ductwork up there. And honestly, that ductwork was pretty cramped. You saw it, so it'd be tough to get back there and change it, but it's doable. It's still doable. We can get back there and do it. So. All right, well, that was a good service call, a little long, and we had a few different issues. Sometimes when you go into a house, they're like, yeah, I'm blowing, you know, system's blowing cold air, and I don't get good airflow to this room, and, you know, and my thermostat downstairs, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, at least they came out, they were forward with us, and and said that they were having some issues instead of me having to find all those issues out myself. So, all right, guys. Well, enjoy your day, and thanks for watching another video. Appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one.